Hi, this is Indivisible, Bowie, and Beyond Maryland with a What's the Plan recap. Now, What's the Plan is the weekly national call with Ezra and Leah, who are the co-founders of Indivisible. So in their February 5th, 2026 What's the Plan meeting, there were three, main themes that occurred. They talked about voting and voting integrity. They talked about DHS funding, and connections came up quite a bit. And when we get to talking about connections, I will tell you an easy way that you can get involved with IBBMD, or if you're another group watching this, collaborate with us. So voting is going to be one of our strongest tools against this Trump power grab that we're seeing right now. And they are trying to grab power. They are using the myth of that there was interference in our elections in 2020 and 2024 to grab all of this voting power. We're seeing that in the MEGA Act. We're seeing that in the SAVE Act. And we're seeing it in threats that are being made by Steve Bannon and Donald Trump to have ICE at voting locations in November. Twice during the meeting yesterday, Leah said something really important. She said they are losing, so they will try to steal the election. And I'm going to throw in there, they're throwing a lot of things at the wall. They are throwing a lot of us for a loop every single day. Leah calls this whack-a-mole, and we are going to be dealing with that. But they are going to fail, she said, because we are going to stop them. And that is why all of these tactics that we're putting into place, No King's Day, mutual aid, coming together to watch what's going on in our local and state governments as well as Congress. We are coalescing a movement to create these connections so that we can do mass mobilization, mass outrage, and create the swell of upset over all of these little tactics that the Trump administration is trying to do. We are pro-democracy and we are anti-authoritarian, and we are flexing the muscles right now to create this grid work of opposition to what this regime is trying to accomplish. And they are trying to keep power as long as possible so that they don't have to face accountability when Democrats win the House and Senate again. The second big topic that came up was DHS funding. And the recap on that was last week, the Democrats were very successful in splitting up DHS funding from the whole funding package. And that whole funding package did pass, and it gets us until, I believe, September 30th of 2026. Now, the DHS package, they've been funded for 2 weeks so that Democrats can make their demands, and they have. They have said, we are going to unmask ICE. We are going to have cameras on and turned on. They're going to wear cameras, and they will be turned on. They want to see the removal of Kristi Noem. So the Democrats have made their demands. However, we saw how the last funding fight went when we had, I think it was 6 or 7 Democrats caved and gave in to the Republicans. So this time, Democrats do have a lot of leverage because the funding bill has passed, but we need all of the Democrats to stay strong, and that means we have to be putting the pressure on them. We have to be calling, email, calling. Like, they need to know without any shadow of a doubt how the American people, how their constituents are feeling in this moment about everything that's going on. And many of the questions from other Indivisible groups that were answered by Ezra and Leah really had to do a lot with election integrity. Yes, we have a lot of worry and fear, but we need to set that worry and fear aside and be the fighters for our communities right now. And that goes back to what Leah said, was that they are going to fail because we will stop them. Because we are, and this is the third point, getting connected. We are, through No Kings, Hands Off, May Day, we are creating this huge network of connections and collaboration. And a really great question that someone had was, how do we get people plugged in? Well, we mobilize. We have No Kings 3 protests. We focus on making sure that when somebody shows up to a protest, we get their name, their email, their phone number. We have someone who is going to follow up with all of these new folks who are interested in getting involved. We have them get connected with the subcommittees and all the different programs that we have locally. We connect locally. We collaborate with other groups within our local area. For instance, here in Bowie, our Indivisible group is connected with CASA, which is an immigrants advocacy and rights organization, and they help with mutual aid for our immigrant communities. We're also connected with the the Bowie Interfaith Pantry, which is a food bank, and you can donate, you can volunteer there, you can volunteer to garden. There are a lot of ways that we can all connect. We've got our visibility brigades that meet on Friday and Sunday, and we have special Viz brigades throughout the year. So really what the pro-democracy movement is all about is creating community and getting connected. And we can do that on the local level, in our local little micro communities, in our counties, in our state, and nationally. And that's something that I'm personally trained to do. I have reached out so far to about 95 Indivisible groups throughout the nation, including Hawaii and Alaska, and I am starting to make connections. It's a slow process, but if you're interested, if you are an Indivisible group who is interested in connecting and collaborating on a weekly messaging call, we call them our messaging storms. And that's when we focus on a single unified message to Congress on Wednesdays. We've had some ongoing daily calls that have been very relevant to DHS and ICE Out for Good, and we may continue those, but our primary focus has been that Wednesday call so that we get as many people from communities across the U.S. calling Congress, and that means they're red, purple, and blue members of Congress, with a single message. Because our voices are more powerful when they're amplified. That goes when we are out at protests, that goes for visibility brigades, and that goes for when we communicate with our congressional officials. You can email join@ibbmd.org. And that's how you can get connected with the newsletter and contact our administrative team and get plugged into what's going on here locally in Bowie and Prince George's County. And if you go to ibbmd.org, up at the top right hand, you'll see Home, Events, and Get Involved. If you click on Get Involved, it'll show all of the different ways that you can get involved. We've got Art Brigade, Courage Candidates, Community Outreach, Immigrant Rights, and the 5 calls, or our messaging storm. So I'm going to leave it there for today. I hope this was useful. As always, if you have the time and capacity, please go and watch the entire What's the Plan with Ezra and Leah. There are some great questions that come up, and Ezra and Leah have a wonderful breadth of knowledge about what's going on in our country. And, they're very reassuring. It's nice to feel super connected. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you can get notified when I post new videos. And I will see you next week.